Earlier we covered 4 different stages in the 4 different videos. Number 1 is define phase. Basically, you're defining what the problem is. Measure phase, you're baselining the project at the current state. Analyze phase, we're looking at all the factors that are causing the problem and analyze them down to the vital factor. And improve phase is to look at the what we call the vital factors that were identified and look at solutions that can be implemented. And finally, now is control phase, is how do we sustain the gains basically. A lot of time in any improvements, you'll notice that we will do some projects, and once we have found a solution, we will celebrate, and then we implement the solutions and everybody is happy. And obviously, if you don't do any control or monitor the solution, what will happen is in a few months time the problem occurs again. So control stage is very important and it should be looked at seriously as well. You cannot say, oh, it's not important, we're not going to do it, or we're not going to look at the deliverables in control phase because the solution is working well. So obviously in this case here, control phase is important. And another reason why control phase is important, because as you notice in improve phase, we only suggested the pilot plan to be implemented. Now in control phase, we will talk about deploying the solution throughout the company, let's say, and also at the same time completing the paperwork that's required to make the solution sustainable. So again, the finalized project charter is brought into control phase. There shouldn't be any changes in the project charter because we already implemented solutions, or we look at some pilot solutions already as it is. In this case, from the pilot study itself, we will look at if there's any significant changes in the process, if there are any improvements or not. Now for this, you can actually do an analysis before and after improvement, i.e. the sigma level itself. The sigma level, the measure phase itself will have the initial benchmark, and in this case, after the pilot has been implemented, we will look at what is the change in the sigma level. Any other changes you can show, it could be even a graphical change as per the graphical summary we studied in analyze phase. It could even be statistical tools that we have used in analyze phase. We can use that. For example, if you do a one sample T test during analyze phase, then after improvement, we can look at what is the new result of the one sample T test. So therefore, in this case, to prove that your project has achieved its goals, we have to do a before and after analysis. Could be even some pictorial improvements as well. For example, before this, you didn't have 5S, things were scattered all over the place. Now after improvement, we have what we call improvements done, and the 5S will show that there is things that are in more logical order and also more standardized. So therefore, what we look at is updated FMEA. So in FMEA is another tool in control phase that you can actually bring it in at this stage and update any process that has changed in the earlier stages, or even risk assessment as well of your solutions that you implemented, if there's any change to it. Now in this case, your updated FMEA should be finalized. It could be part of your existing FMEA. Now some companies, those especially in manufacturing, automotive, let's say TS16949, you do have an FMEA that's compulsory to be updated at regular intervals. So therefore, if the project impacts are there, then you have to update your FMEA accordingly. And also, this is a live document, so it has to be a control copy. So any changes to your process map has to be shown in the FMEA document itself. And in this case, we can talk about the replication plan. The pilot replication plan here means that you have done a pilot successfully. How do you replicate the changes throughout the organization? We do have an implementation and handover plan. Now, as a green belt or black belter, you may not be the process owner. So therefore, you need to have what we call an implementation plan. What are the things that you need to hand over to the process owner so that the changes that you have advised or has studied in the project will be implemented throughout the organization. So this is an important stage. If you are the process owner yourself, then that means that you will be responsible for the implementation. But if there's a process owner is somebody else, then you as a green or black belt has led the project and you will hand over to them, and they will assign the relevant people to be able to execute the changes in the organization itself. Other important tools are control plan, where if you have any changes made to the process, you need to have a monitoring plan for the factors that you have changed, and the control plan will have what we call corrective actions in there. That means that if the problem at hand that has been solved, there need to be a regular intervals of monitoring. If the problem happens again or comes back, then there is a corrective action that they can refer to the control plan and make the adjustments accordingly. Another tool that's very useful is SPC, which stands for Statistical Process Control. In this case, in SPC, we can use control charts to determine your process, whether it's in control or out of control. So there are several charts in this. Just to name a few: X bar R chart, NP chart, C chart, U chart, and so on. Now these control charts you can use to monitor the process performance. Other than that, in control phase, there's a lot of paperwork that needs to be completed. Apart from the FMEA just now, you need to have some dashboard samples for your project. Especially dashboards are used more for progress of the projects or savings that are going to be achieved. SOP, standard operating procedures. You may have to update your SOPs as well based on the changes that have been implemented. Some of them are OPLs, 1 point lessons we call it. So it could be that you have to implement some OPLs throughout the shop floor and any work instructions that need to be changed. And finally, to close off the project, you need to be able to have some final financial benefits calculated. As we spoke about earlier about this, there will be some savings in terms of hard or soft savings. This is the final justification for the savings, as well as any improvements that are tangible or intangible need to be shown here. Again, the project timing plan, you may have some more JDI activities out of this stage, but generally from my experience, you may not have many. You can still show this and any other timing plan to close the project or how long the handover is going to take for this particular project. And finally, as similar to before this, any issue, barriers and challenges or summary for this control phase. Now just to summarize that control phase, you can bring your charter back again. There shouldn't be any major changes in this stage, and very important to show any analysis before and after improvement. Whatever tools you have used in measure analyze stage, you can show a difference. As I mentioned, could be even pictorial changes. Update your FMEA, any risk assessments to the solutions after the pilot study, and how you replicate the pilot throughout the organization. What about the implementation handover? If you are not the process owner, as a green or black belt, you need to have the relevant handover plan so that process owner can designate or assign somebody else to be able to implement the changes. Then we have the control plan. In case anything happens where the problem reoccurs, then what are the corrective actions, and SPCs to monitor the gains of the project. We have to complete some paperwork such as dashboards, SOPs, OPLs, work instructions, and any other documentation you have on site. And finally, the project must be closed with some financial benefits calculated, could be hard or soft savings. At this stage, to even replicate the solutions throughout the organization, there may be some expenditure as well, which has to be inclusive in the calculations. Timing plan, anything else that need to, especially on how long the handover is going to take, and just do activities and a summary. So that's the end of the series of 5 phases. Just to recap, define was where the tools are used to define the project, what the problem is about. Measure phase is more to do with baselining the project itself, with sigma level or capability study. Analyze phase is to look at all the causes and differentiate between symptoms and root causes. Improve phase is where you be innovative and think out of the box, how we can apply lean solutions or even any other solutions through best practice of benchmarking. And finally, control phase is where we sustain the gains by looking at documentation and standardizing the process itself. So thank you for listening. Hope these 5 series have helped you in your projects, and there are a lot more to it as well. There's a lot more tools and techniques that we can use in the DMAC approach. It's all about how much you're willing to spend time on learning and practicing the tools. And obviously, one of the best ways to learn these tools, first of all, is from training. You will get to learn the different aspects of the tools, how to use it in different environment, the extensiveness of the tools itself, the statistical analysis, the graphic analysis, and also then practice makes perfect by doing projects in real life and experiencing the tools themselves and looking at how to modify the tools to suit the project itself. So hope you will be able to do a project after this, and thank you for listening.